Homeless counts have been conducted in Metro Vancouver across the region every 3 years since 2002, but because the situation in Vancouver is so urgent, in 2010 the City of Vancouver began its own annual counts. The 2018 homelessness count found more than 2,100 people. 2,100 of our neighbors in Vancouver are without a home, and that homelessness was at its highest level in Vancouver since the count began. Creating more affordable housing continues to be my number one priority. But to tackle the rising number of people experiencing homelessness, long-term partnerships with the federal and provincial governments are needed to increase permanent housing options across the city. So thanks to the city's partnership with BC Housing and several nonprofit operators, in just over a year, more than 600 units of temporary modular housing have been created across the city. We also need to note that people of Indigenous identity continue to be vastly overrepresented in our homelessness counts, making up 40% of the city's homeless population, but only 2.2% of Vancouver's overall population.
The Indigenous Homelessness Steering Committee has been able to get around 100 volunteers as our contribution, in addition to putting together the tobacco ties and putting together some magnet events, including one at Oppenheimer Park. I think it's incredibly important for us to get an understanding of the scope of homelessness, and in our case, the scope of Indigenous homelessness, as Mayor Stewart said, about 40%, and it has been increasing, albeit gradually, over the past few years, and it's a significant concern. More of the Indigenous homeless count is unsheltered as opposed to sheltered, and that's very different from the non-Indigenous count, in which the majority is in shelters. So it makes it very difficult because we know it's an undercount. We know we're not capturing nearly all the folks that are homeless, whether they be couch surfing, in make-do shelters and so forth. I think the modular housing, which is from what I understand, 45% of the units are being occupied by Indigenous peoples, is a good start. It's certainly 45% is pretty close to where we think the numbers actually are, and so it's certainly we're not being disadvantaged by that, but we obviously want to see more, because it is such an incredibly significant thing for the Indigenous community. So again, I wanted to thank the Mayor and thank the City for engaging us in this process, and we'll continue to push for more things to resolve this.